Good morning. Welcome to Journey Through Proverbs. This is Mike Troxel, and we're taking a journey along with my devotional time. And I'm not looking at the theology or doctrine. I'm just wanting to look at some practical information. And so I will extract today, particularly, is a theological passage in Proverbs chapter 2. We're going to end the whole chapter, the last half of the chapter. It's a lengthy passage, but I'm not reading it for the sake of the theology. I'm not going to define morality for you. I'm not going to go in to give you the doctrinal or theological lessons of the passage. I want to talk to you about the practical relationship aspects of what this passage is talking about. So you can look at the surface of what the words are actually talking about, and you can look and draw your own lessons from that. But I want to draw lessons underneath of what the principle that is being laid out for how it guides you and the value that wisdom has in our lives. So starting in Proverbs chapter 2 and verse 12, wisdom will save you from evil people, from those whose words are twisted. These men turn from the right way to walk down dark paths. They take pleasure in doing wrong, and they enjoy the twisted ways of evil. Their actions are crooked, and their ways are wrong. Wisdom will save you from the immoral woman, from the seductive words of the promiscuous woman. She has abandoned her husband and ignores the covenant she made before God. Entering her house leads to death. It is the road to the grave. The man who visits her is doomed. He will never reach the paths of life. Follow the steps of good men instead, and stay on the paths of the righteous. So what I would just want to leave with you today to think through. So all of us have relationships. Every single person on the planet has a relationship. Unless you're a hermit living in the mountains, all of us are in relationships. And in those relationships, we have to navigate between healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. The better quality of life that you and I will have will be dependent upon the higher concentration that we have of healthy relationships and a lower concentration of unhealthy relationships. And the best quality of life is going to be when we can weed totally out of our life those unhealthy relationships and not spend time with those individuals. And that might seem harsh, because how could I stop spending time with this friend or this family if they are unhealthy for you, if they are damaging, if they're caustic, if they're draining you, your life and your hope and your dreams for the future, if that's what it is and nagging you down, then that is an unhealthy relationship. And one of the things that this passage says, it talks about men's influence and women's influence that are both negative. And it doesn't deal with the positive influence that people have, but it just deals with those individuals that have a negative influence. People who want to use us for their own reasons. They don't care about us. They just want to use us as an object, a tool, as a weapon, or whatever it is to accomplish some goal they have for themselves without any concern or value for us as individuals. And the passage says clearly, Solomon is writing to his son, and he says, son, you need to pay attention. Wisdom, as you gain wisdom, it will help you to navigate a way to avoid, to stay away from those kind of people. When someone is damaging to you, when someone is draining your life and your hope and your dreams for your future, and they're destructive to you, caustic relationship, those are the kind of relationships you want to navigate away. And not at this point, you may not know how to do that, but that's one of the values of what we're looking at as you gain principles of how to operate and live a successful and disciplined life. You will learn better how to be able to do that, how to navigate those relationships. Part of that navigation is going to be as you add new relationships to your life, as you seek out people that are healthy, that are strong, that are contributing to you back, and not people that are just draining you. As you seek that out, you're going to replace the time you had for the negative people, you're going to replace that with positive people. People that are going to build you up, people that are going to help you reach your goals, people that are going to help you dream bigger and experience more. And that's really what this passage is about. It wants you to be able to follow the paths of good men and to stay on the path of the righteous, because it says in Proverbs, which we looked earlier in the first two chapters, is that leads to a happy, a successful life. It leads to a disciplined life, a life filled with joy, a life that's lived long on the earth. And ultimately, that's what most people want. So I read a story many years ago that this young man had said, commenting about a conversation that he and his best friend had with his grandmother. So his grandmother had the greenest grass ever. It was just gorgeous, not a single weed in the entire lawn. And this friend of the boy, he had asked, well, how did your grandmother have such incredibly beautiful lawn? I mean, there's not even a weed, there's no blemish, nothing. And she must spend an enormous amount of time working on her lawn to try to get it that way. He said, well, my grandmother told me that what she does is she just keeps planting good seed in her yard, and over time it made it so as the good seed took root and grew, it choked out all of the bad seed, bad weeds. And so she didn't even have to go pulling the weeds, she just kept planting good seed, and eventually there was no more room in her yard for the bad weeds. And so that's a simple principle for your life and mine. You don't have to go out and focus on getting rid of the bad people. Fill your life and your time with the quality people and quality activities, the best and the better choices, not the okay, not the bad choices, but the better and best choices. And the more you do that, the less and less time you will have for those things and those people that would actually be destructive and harmful to your life. And that's just a simple principle. I hope that it's beneficial to you today from this passage at the end of Proverbs.